Short stays are out of control, man. City and rural councils are being faced with mounting resident complaints of noise, parties, nudity, assault, and property damage. The intensity is increasing as party lovers emerge from their pandemic. Shut the front gate. Nothing to do with the pandemic. It was about the pandemic restrictions. And it wasn't hibernation, it was isolation. Making up for lost time with zero consequences. So be careful with the wording here. Zero consequences. Are you saying that a company like Airbnb has zero consequences? Are you saying that the reputation of the company and the insurance payouts has zero consequences? What about the law? If there's a crime, the Victorian police are very, very strict. They do their job. If there's a crime, they'll intervene and the people will be arrested and brought to trial, and justice will be swift and served. Now let's have a look at this newspaper who is really, really pissed off that the average man or woman can make $1 out of renting out their house for Airbnb. Let's have a look at this company, right? Southbank News. I wonder who their funding is. Curiouser and curiouser. Let's have a look, shall we? Together, me and you. What's interesting is that they, just a few articles down on their Facebook page, they're talking about a new hotel because apparently nudity can only happen in an Airbnb. There has never been a single incident of people being out of control from a motel or a hotel. It's really interesting that this supposedly ethical company, if you work in a newspaper, you have a obligation to be ethically responsible how you shape your wording and who you take your money from, because otherwise you're just a servant of a company. You're a for-profit business who is twisting information and abusing your authority, and you should be feeling shameful. How dare you, as Gretel Thunberg would say. So they're just really pissed off that a corporate company cannot monopolize the industry, which is ridiculous. So this place, Southbank News, do you really think that Airbnb is the single cause of people having nudity when they're staying there or outlandish behavior? I have stayed at hotels. I have seen nudity. Why are you trying to say that if a person through Airbnb that has insurance, they have less liability? So if someone trashes the place, if there's complaints, then there's the gentleman who owns Southbank News. This is the gentleman who is telling you that corporate hotel chains are the only private company that have the right to let people stay in their venue, in their establishment while they're visiting the great city of Melbourne. This man is saying, how dare you? How dare you think you can have an Airbnb? There's so much nudity, so much outlandish behavior. In the corporate hotel chains, people's behavior is monetized and is carefully scrutinized. In Airbnb, things are wild. It is the destruction of culture. See, I know, this man knows best. He knows exactly what's good for you. He knows what's best. Obey this gentleman. He is, oh look, he helps out. He's really diverse, so he must be a good bloke. Mr. Sean Carr, Caucasian male in a suit. Please tell me your evidence for the assumption that guests from an Airbnb are more likely to have homophobic slurs. If not, you're just making insinuations. There's no evidence to support your claims. Where is the evidence that promotes that people who stay in an Airbnb are much more likely to make homophobic slurs than those who pay for a corporate hotel chain stay? Where is the evidence for this claim? It's a very bold claim you're making, Mr. Sean Carr. This gentleman is a dedicated and passionate journalist. If he's a dedicated and passionate journalist, in 101, the first rule of journalism is that ethics are bigger than for profit. Yes, you have to sell newspapers, but if you're devoid of any virtue, any integrity, what is the point? You've lost your right. Why do you even bother rocking up to work in the morning? if you are so devoid of any character, any moral integrity? Look at this wording. Look at this wording. It's not what you say, it's what you don't say. Zero consequences. What are you saying? It's a commercial business for many operators. It's a private business, and it's one of the few ways that the average working person can own a home and perhaps increase their wealth instead of having these corporate hotel chains monopolize the industry. The fallout for continuous as a ground for support media coverage. Okay, so which one? Is it just only radical left-wing corporate government funded? Chaos. Chaos? That's very interesting saying that's chaos. Where were you in 2020? Frustration. We want the government to get involved. We need Big Brother to come in and say, we need hotel chains only. Hotel chains or the highway. Suffered 8 years. The Victorian community has suffered, right, because of Airbnb. The so-called Airbnb is making the Victorians suffer. Nothing to do with the radical left-wing politics, making people stay in their own homes. Prisoners in their own homes. Nothing to do with that, Fucking lying dogs. So look at these corporate fat cats. These guys are allowed to make money in Melbourne, but not the individual landowner, not the individual house owner. These are the people who are allowed to make money. People who have already put their political ideologies on the line and forcing their views onto the naive public. So this gentleman here, Andrew Carter, he's an expert in pharmaceuticals. That's what we need in Victoria, more pharmaceutical experts. They are allowed to get filthy rich out of the city, but how dare the individual average working woman and man get the opportunity to perhaps better themselves and acquire more capital? Heaven forbid. Investment in business is paying off for the city. Right, Melbourne City has never looked better. The homelessness, the violence, the drugs, the depression, the hopelessness, the despair, the victim consciousness. Yeah, Melbourne's looking so wonderful. Thank God that all these corporate fat cats making money out of Melbourne. How dare an individual landowner try to make a buck?